Welcome back to Portland Winterhawks hockey here on winterhawks.com, joined by the Hawks head coach and general manager Mike Johnston. And Mike, we'll talk about the game against Tri-City in a minute, but first off, Garry Davidson, it was announced, is going to be the new general manager in Everett. Talk about what he's meant to the organization over the last few years.
Well, I've known Garry for a long time, and he was actually my first hire here with the team, and certainly he's done a very good job. You take a look at our drafts over the last couple of years, and I also think what he's done so well for our organization is finding list players, finding those guys out there that weren't drafted, that are developing a little bit later, making sure that they fit the needs of our team, and I thought he's done an excellent job in that area. And it's a great opportunity for him to move into a general manager's position in our league. There's only 22 teams. They're tough positions to get. A lot of people stay there for quite a long time when they have them. So I was excited for him. At the same time, it's a big loss for our organization.
It was announced today that a move that had been speculated about for the past couple of weeks. We saw a lot of sources within the league, which I love the sources within the league. Nobody ever knows who these people are or what their accreditations are. But Garry Davidson is the new general manager of the Everett Silvertips. He becomes only the third general manager in Silvertips history, and really, basically only the second, because Doug Sotart was gone for one season into the American Hockey League. Kevin Constantine took over as the GM for a year. But Garry Davidson has moved on from the Portland Winterhawks organization. Now he will be in Everett. And under Davidson's tutelage, the Winterhawks have done an excellent job, particularly finding players after the draft and late in the draft, and he'll certainly be missed from the Winterhawks' point of view.
For sure, I like Garry Davidson a lot. Always good. He's a good hockey guy, and that's a compliment that's thrown around a lot. But he is a good hockey guy. Spent a lot of time talking to Garry Davidson on road trips because that's the only time we ever saw him.
Right.
When we go up into BC, he lived in Salmon Arm area because he was the owner of the Salmon Arm Silverbacks for a while in the BCHL. And, Garry is going to be a guy that the Winterhawks are going to have to contend with now in the U.S. division, as he knows his way around a hockey rink. He knows how to find players, and he knows how to recruit them. And, the Winterhawks have done a really, really good job of that lately. Davidson was a big part of that. And I guess, it's a compliment when other teams reach within your organization to find people to go to work for them. And the Silvertips feeling that Doug Sotart maybe wasn't finding the players that Mark Ferner maybe wanted as a head coach. Davidson said today in the press conference up in Everett that he likes two kind of players, speed and skill. And that's something we've seen definitely a lot of in Portland over the last couple of years, and we'll see if he's able to make that transition in Everett to a more speed-skill lineup and just how quickly he can do it.
Yeah, and a lot of people I've talked to following this move, they were wondering, how is it that a division rival is able to, in the middle of the season, hire away another division rival's director of player personnel? But most scouts, coaches, assistant coaches, broadcasters, we all have contracts that say that if someone comes calling from another team that has a higher position available within that organization, in other words, if it's a step forward in your career, then the team will not block that sort of a move. And that's the situation that we have here.
And I'm sure Everett wanted him in place before the Bantam draft in May, and they want to have him time to work with the Everett scouting staff to get to know them a little bit and get to know their tendencies, and maybe to set some ground rules for players they're looking at in the Bantam draft, because Everett's going to have a fairly high pick this year, and now it's a matter of finding the talent, and it's going to be an interesting scenario for Davidson coming in as a new face into that organization, and just how quickly he can assert his influence upon the people that have been there for quite a while. It's always tough to lose good people out of your organization, but Garry Davidson has earned his stripes, and as Mike Johnston mentioned in the coach show tonight, there's not a lot of these positions that come open very often, and when they do and you get an opportunity to take one, you generally will do it, and that's what happened in this situation. Gary Jelena, the president of the Everett Silvertips, knows Garry Davidson from the BCHL days, so it seemed like a good fit for him to go there.
Yeah, and really, when you take a look at the Everett Silvertips, a big pivotal moment in their franchise could be coming up by the end of this month. There was a big article in ESPN, the magazine, this week about Seth Jones, who they drafted. He looks like he's going to be a stud, maybe one of the potential number one overall, or certainly top 10 NHL entry draft picks next summer. Jones is trying to decide between NCAA and the Everett Silvertips, who drafted him. And Garry Davidson has a track record with the Portland Winterhawks of recruiting high-end U.S. prospects like Chase Delio like a player that it was announced today has been signed by the Portland Winterhawks, and Dominic Turgeon. Turgeon, the son of former NHLer Pierre Turgeon, who played over 1,300 NHL games and was a point-a-game player in the National Hockey League, and one of the best players to ever play in the National Hockey League. It was announced Dominic Turgeon has signed to play with the Portland Winterhawks. We can expect to see him probably next season with the Winterhawks hockey team. And Seth Jones is from Colorado. Dominic Turgeon's from Colorado. I know that Garry Davidson was hired before this all came down by the Everett Silvertips, but it probably didn't hurt him anyway.
No, it didn't. And, and Seth Jones' dad played in the NBA.
Yeah.
Popeye Jones played in the NBA, so there's some athletic ability in that family. So we'll see if he's able to recruit him to come to Everett. If he does, I'm sure that the Everett brass will say, we hired the right guy. And even if they're not able to recruit him, if they find some talent, maybe some after the draft talent to come in next year to help them out, because they're going to be missing, some key bodies on their lineup next year, and especially if Ryan Murray makes the NHL as a 19-year-old. They have some holes to fill, and Davidson's got a tough job ahead of him, but he has a pedigree to do it.